Starting off my list at number 5, I have Trea Turner. Remember that big contract that he got back in the offseason from the Phillies? It was 11 years, $300 million. That was the second biggest contract from this past offseason. But Trea Turner, in my opinion, he has not been living up to that contract so far. Look at these numbers. Only hitting 247 to 297 on base, a 385 slugging, 7 homers, and 82 WRC+. He is stealing bases, 12 stolen bases, playing good defense out there as well. And recently in the month of June, he is hitting better. He's starting to heat up a little bit. 286 on the batting average, a 351 on base, a 429 slugging, a 113 WRC+. So those numbers are looking much better than that start he got off to. One thing to take note of here with Trea Turner that I think could have contributed to his early season struggles are some of the plate discipline numbers. If we take a look here at the chase percentage, last year it was at 33.1%, and now it's up to 36.3%. But if we take a look at the zone contact percentage, if we take a look in the zone, last year, he was swinging 72.4% of the time, and it's up a little bit at 74%, but take a look at the zone contact percentage. Last year, it was at 84.5%, and now it's down to 79.6%. So he's just simply not making as much contact in the zone. He's chasing a lot more. And then if we take a look here at the batted ball profile, when we take a look, last year, he was at 34.5% top percentage, and now he's at 28%. But when you take a look at the under percentage, 24.3% last year, up to 29.8%. So maybe his mechanics are a little off to where he's just getting more under the ball. So when last year, when he had great numbers, he was getting more on top of the ball. So maybe there's a bit more of an uppercut in his swing, so maybe the mechanics are hurting him a little bit. So I think he needs to kind of just get back to evening this out a little bit more. That's just something he's going to have to go back to the lab and work on more. He was so good in the World Baseball Classic, and it just seemed like he ran out of juice when he got back and he got off to the slow start. It's a good sign to see that he's hitting better in the month of June, but overall, so far right now, this is not looking like one of the better moves in the offseason. At number 4, I have Justin Verlander. Man, oh man, what is going on with the Mets this year? Take a look, 34 and 38, 12 back in the division, 5 games back in the wild card race. If we go take a look here at the Mets, we all know how much money the Mets spent this past offseason. Taking a look at their payroll, it is absolutely off the charts, a historic payroll, the biggest payroll ever. $359 million this year. Like, that is insane. And they're only 34 and 38. My goodness. But a big chunk of that payroll is coming from Justin Verlander. Now, he missed a few starts in the beginning of the year with some shoulder issues, but he's been back. 8 starts, 45 innings, a 4.40 ERA, a 4.43 FIP. If we take a look at the strikeout numbers, they're down this year from 9.5 last year to 7.8 this year per 9. His walks have gone up to from 1.5 to 2.5 this year, just around a half a home run per 9 last year to about 1.5 per 9 this year. Like, these numbers are no bueno. Now, they're not the worst numbers out there. They're not like terrible by any means. When looking at Justin Verlander's StatCast numbers, there's a couple of things jumping out to me. The first thing is simply the exit velocity. If we take a look here, he's in the 11th percentile right now, and last year he was in the 65th percentile. So he's just giving up more hard contact. And then when you look at the hard hit percentage, last year he was in the 74th percentile, and this year he's in the 12th percentile. So that's just telling me, when you look at the fastball is still around the same at 94 miles an hour. So that's just simply telling me that he's just leaving more balls over the plate. You got to remember with Justin Verlander, like I said, he had the problems with the shoulder earlier on in the season, so I still think he's getting his mojo back. He's had a couple of good starts, but it seems like he has a good start, a bad start, a good start, and a bad start. I still think he's just simply working through some things. But obviously, right now, I'm not too impressed. Considering that he's making $43 million. Like, that is insane to me. As of right now, he is on pace to be worth $12 million this year. If he were to make 25 starts, he is on pace to be worth $12 million. Last time I checked, according to my math skills, that's not $43 million. That's atrocious. I don't know what's going on here. I'm thinking the Mets will be able to turn this around. I think they will get hot in the second half, but I don't know. They've been having a really down first half, and considering how much money they spent this offseason with a big chunk of it going to Verlander, this is incredibly disappointing to me. At number 3, I have Willson Contreras. Man, this has been a complete bust of a signing. The Cardinals have been a complete bust of a team. This has not worked out at the catcher position. I think they're basically begging Yadier Molina to come back at this point, at least to come back and manage the team. They need that guy back in the building. But Willson Contreras, he has basically spiraled into oblivion this year. Let's talk about the offense first, because this shocks me. Only hitting 201, a 293 on base, a 355 slugging, 8 homers, and 82 WRC plus. That's crazy to me, considering he had a 132 WRC plus last year, 22 homers, a 349 on base, 466 slugging. Those are solid numbers. The offense has completely tanked, but I think that's due just to what he's been going through mentally at the catching position. I feel like he's been trying to live up to Yadier Molina, and he has just been the complete opposite. Remember, he got taken out of the catching position earlier on in the season. They were going to make him an outfielder, and then they changed their mind on that, and then they made him the DH. It was this whole thing that was getting so much attention. But I think Willson Contreras, he's just having a really tough time this year. He's even come out and said this has been like the hardest year for him mentally. I don't know what's going on here, but now we talked about the offense. The defense has not been good. Now, he has a 2.4 defense, which is okay, but he has -3 defensive runs saved. He has a -3.1 framing. I mean, these are just not good numbers. He's never been known for his ability to work with pitchers. I guess they've figured it out for the most part, but I don't know. Willson Contreras, to me, I've never been a big fan of him at the catcher position. I am a fan of a guy that can work well with pitchers. That is, they can get on the same page. I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's been able to do that this year. The Cardinals pitching staff, they've had a lot of ups and downs this year. I don't know. To me, this has just been a complete bust so far. At number 2, I have Jose Abreu. Speaking of disappointing, this guy was supposed to be an impact middle-of-the-order bat for the Houston Astros, and he has been the complete opposite. Take a look at the numbers. He's only hitting 224, a 279 on base, a 309 slugging, 4 home runs, a 63 WRC plus. Look at that Fangraph WAR, a -1.1. You know where that ranks? That ranks right near the bottom among all qualified players. He's number 156 out of 157. Well, he's tied for the worst Fangraph WAR. So when looking at the StatCast numbers, I'm seeing a few things that could be contributing to why Jose Abreu is having a bad season. Well, the first thing that jumps right off the page to me is the average exit velocity. As of right now, it's in the 40th percentile. And when compared to last year, it was in the 93rd percentile. So that's telling me his swing could be weaker this year, and it's just resulting in not great contact. But speaking of contact, when we take a look at the batted ball profile, he is topping the ball way more this year. He was at 33.9% last year, and now he's at 37.3% this year. And last year, his under percentage was at 19%, and this year, it's at 25.5%. So I think his mechanics are off. His swing, again, I think could have slowed down a little bit. And one more thing to take a look at is the plate discipline. When I see the chase percentage last year at 29.8%, that's jumped up to 35.1%. So he's chasing the ball more. He's not making as much contact. So I think when you combine that his mechanics are probably off, his swing could be a smidge weaker, and he's chasing more, that to me is a recipe to have a pretty bad season. I don't know, man. Like, this is absolutely insane to me. Everyone loved this move when the Astros brought him in, because you're thinking, all right, defending World Series champions, you're bringing in a great bat in Jose Abreu. And, this guy is going to go right in the middle of the order with Yordan Alvarez and Bregman and Altuve and Kyle Tucker. And it's been a complete bust. It's crazy considering this was considered one of the best offseason moves, and now it's considered one of the worst. And at number 1, I have Carlos Rodon. And no, this is not coming from my hate for the Yankees. He hasn't even pitched this year. And this guy got a fat contract in the offseason. He had the 7th biggest contract this offseason. 6 years, $162 million, $27 million per season. And he hasn't even thrown one pitch. Now, I've been saying for the Yankees, they've been needing a number 2 guy for the rotation for years now. And they finally did it. but the guy hasn't even thrown one pitch. He's been an injury risk in the past. I did like the signing. If he's healthy, I think he's going to be huge for the Yankees. But, considering last year at the trade deadline, they traded for Frankie Montas instead of, giving up more pieces to try and get Luis Castillo. I still to this day, that blows my mind that the Yankees did not pull the trigger and land Luis Castillo. It looked like they were in the running for, they were right there in the end in the running for him. And then he went to the Mariners. I think what the Mariners did, I think they just ponied up more prospects in the end. They had Noelvi Marte, and then I think they offered Edwin Arroyo to get the deal done. That's just my own personal opinion, but the Yankees did not do that. They did not give up the prospects needed to get a Luis Castillo, and look how good he's been doing for the Mariners. They ended up getting Frankie Montas, and that was a complete bust. He ended up getting arthroscopic surgery on his shoulder, and then you go to the offseason, and then they bring in Carlos Rodon, who is, again, an injury risk, just like Montas had been. And, now look what's going on. He hasn't even thrown one pitch. Now, granted, he is making his first rehab start today, so let's see if he can be healthy for the rest of the year. He ends up, helping out the Yankees down the stretch, getting them to a playoff spot. But you have to say right now, this is the worst move considering how much money they've given him, and he hasn't even thrown one pitch. Now, this could be completely different by the end of the season. Who knows? He ends up coming back. He has a great second half, and then, this is a completely different conversation. But, I'm just looking at it from the fact that they gave him so much money, and again, he hasn't even thrown one pitch. The Yankees really could use him. I know the Yankees need offense right now. Aaron Judge, they took him out of the lineup, and it's crazy how bad that offense has been without him. But the pitching staff, when it comes to the starting pitching, they're 22nd overall in Fangraph WAR, a 4.37 ERA, a 4.55 FIP. They need a boost here in the rotation. Garrett Cole's been good all year, but they've really been lacking in other spots. Domingo Germán, he's been getting roughed up recently. Luis Severino hasn't really been amazing this year. Clark Schmidt, he's been okay, but more like a middle of the rotation to back end kind of a guy. I mean, you're getting Johnny Brito back, but they need another guy in this rotation. And, for me, again, the fact that Carlos Rodon hasn't done anything this year, I think that's just been a huge disappointment. And I think this contract right now, this offseason move, in my opinion, is the worst out of all of the offseason moves. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Am I missing any on this list? I know my potato brain is probably missing one. So let me know in the comments down below. If you can on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.